Good morning, ma'am. So, yan, I'm Divina Grace Limaris from Midline. And ngayon po is gagawa po ng video presentation. Ito po, for my report po. And this is my project po. Yung project po na nakagawa. And solo po ako ngayon. Wala po akong kagrupo. Solo po talaga. And ang napili ko pong topic na i-report ay yung tune ko pa po ito mamaya at para po maipasok sa inyo ng ayos, isusulat ko po siya ng maayos, clean, and yun po. And mag-start ko po ngayon, and good morning po ulit. Good morning, ma'am. So let's start my video presentation. So let's start, and let's start with a kite. Yes. So what is kite? So kite is quadrilateral with two distinct pairs of adjacent congruent sides. So I have example in my script that I wrote yesterday. Yes. So let's say we have kite A, B, C, and D. So one pair of adjacent is segment DA and the segment BA. Therefore, they are congruent. Their sides. So another pair of adjacent side is segment DC and segment BC. So they are congruent. So let's have the first theorem on kite. If a quadrilateral is a kite, then exactly one pair of opposite angles is congruent. To prove this theorem of kite, we have NICK is a kite. That is my example. And to prove that angle NKC is congruent to angle NIC. So let's have this statement in reasons column to prove that. So our first statement is NICK is a kite. So the reason for this statement, it is a given. So statement number 2, segment KN is congruent to segment IN and segment KC is congruent to segment IC. So the reason is definition of a kite. So that since NICK is a kite, they are the pairs of adjacent and congruent sides. So let's proceed to number 3, or the third statement, and this is NC is congruent to segment NC. The reason is reflexive property of congruence. So let's proceed to number 4, or fourth statement. So triangle NKC is congruent to triangle NIC. The reason is SSS, or the side congruent postulate. Let's proceed to fifth statement, which is angle NKC is congruent to angle NIC. The reason is corresponding parts of congruent triangle are congruent, or CPCTC. So therefore, based on our 5 statements, we prove that angle NKC is congruent to angle NIC. So, and it also proved our theorem number 1. That's our theorem number 1, and that's 5 statements is the proof to our number 1. So, let's have this question. Yes. If angle NIC is 101 degrees, what is the measure of angle NKC? So the answer is yes. It is also 101%, because angle NIC is congruent to angle NKC. So let's proceed to number 2 theorem, or the second theorem of a kite. So in a kite, the perpendicular bisector of at least one diagonal is the other diagonal. Yes, diagonal. This is diagonal. Yes. On our given, NICK is a kite. The diagonals here are segment NC and segment KI. And it says on the theorem that the perpendicular bisector of at least one diagonal is the other diagonal. In other words, if you make a look at a kite, the longer diagonal bisect the other shorter diagonal. So, therefore, segment NC bisects segment KI at point R. So, and segment NC is perpendicular to segment. It divides the segment KI to two equal measurements. Therefore, measurement of IR is equal to 25 units. Answer the question. What is the measurement of angle NRI? Yes, it's 90 degrees because segment NC is perpendicular bisector of segment KI. What is the measurement of angle C? Yes, you are correct. It's also 90 degrees. So, let's proceed to the third theorem of kite. Our last theorem, for the area of a kite is half the product of the lengths of its diagonals. Yes, that is for our kite. Let's proceed to the trapezoid. So what is trapezoid? A trapezoid is a quadrilateral with only one pair of parallel sides. But for now, we are focusing on isosceles. What is a isosceles trapezoid? An isosceles trapezoid is a trapezoid with congruent legs. The legs. Yes. Let's list the following parts of isosceles trapezoid. Let's proceed on parts of isosceles trapezoid. So, first is the legs. Legs are congruent and non-parallel sides. So, another part of the isosceles trapezoid is the bases. So, what is the bases on the trapezoid? So, bases are the two parallel sides. Yes, the two parallel sides. And another part of the isosceles trapezoid is the base angles. So, in the example, lower base angles are the angle ADC and angle BCD. And for the lower base angles are angle DBA and angle CB. Let's talk about the theorems on isosceles trapezoid. So, the first theorem on isosceles trapezoid is the base angles of an isosceles trapezoid are congruent. So, it means that our base angle of an isosceles trapezoid are equal measures. So, our second theorem is the diagonals of an isosceles trapezoid are congruent. So, it means it's the diagonals of the isosceles trapezoid is the same. So, our third theorem is opposite angles of an isosceles trapezoid are supplementary. Yes. So, let's talk about naman to the median of a trapezoid or midjan. Yes, midjan. Or midline. So, what is median of a trapezoid? Median of a trapezoid is the segment joining the midpoints of the legs of a trapezoid. So, let's proceed to the mid-segment theorem of a trapezoid. The median of a trapezoid is parallel to each base and its length is 1/2 the sum of the length of the base. So, always remember that kite is a quadrilateral with two distinct pairs of adjacent and congruent sides. So, that's all for today now. Thank you for listening po.